Okay, in this video, I'm going to be covering DarqUI, setting custom spells and messages related to those spells. I'm going to be doing that for a raid. So I have a simple raid. To get the raid window up, it's usually Alt-R, although you may have it set custom. And from any window, there is a small button, a little blue button that says DarqUI Settings. You can use that to pull up the window related to the DarqUI settings for it. You can also use the window manager for DarqUI, which lets you traverse through different windows, trade skill, maintain spells, etc. But clicking on this will take you right to that specific Windows documentation and settings. So as we see, there's 4 settings in here. Under my group settings, in a separate video, I covered doing this exact same detail for the group. So now I'm basically doing the same thing for raids. So I have an empty spell here. My 5th spell is empty. I'm going to add a sample spell, confront fear, so that it is a little easier to see. I'll just add an icon. You can add anything or none. You'll still be able to click on it even if there's no icon. I can send a tell to in this case, to myself, because I'll be casting it on myself. I can put a group message. Yes, even though this is coming from the raid window, you may only want the message to go to your group. An example could possibly be, here I'm going to cast it, and there's the message in my group. Let's say a necromancer is casting life burn, and they don't want to pass the message to the raid to trigger all the other healers. They only want to trigger their own healer. That's an example where you may only want to put it inside of the group, even though you're in your raid window. So feel free to experiment and set it up as you will find that you need it at that moment. Confront fear on test. Let's just put test. Confront fear here. I will do that again. Try to cast, and just to show that the message does go into the raid setting. So basically what these 3 windows, what these 3 windows do for tell, group tell, and raid say is the same as our setting up a macro under our normal macros, where you can put in /raid say noxious remedy. In these common macros, we also do things like cancel spell cast. You can put in a command like cancel spellcast into this box for the command. You won't need the / command part because it knows it's a command. So you can save that and do that. However, I will show that you don't need to do that in particular. If I start casting another spell and then cast my confront fear, as we see, if you have your spell messages on, it will say you stopped casting. That happened automatically. I did not need to put cancel spell cast for that to occur. So also you can change the tooltip, which is the message that pops up, but you can handle that by experimenting. I have also here my hate message, my dirge hate, which is also set up. I can again add that to raid say and just say dirge hate on. Again, tname basically gets parsed where it will replace that with the target. If you're used to regular EQ2 macros and you want to do something like that, and say in raid, you would say %t. So that's a common. That's usually the first thing people do wrong, is they try to insert things like %t in here, and that just won't work. If you were to save that and cast the spell, cast the correct spell. See, it still says %t because it doesn't know what %t is. So that's a common thing you may go through. Now I'm going to mention cures. Showing this off on a dirge here, but you still have the windows for cures. So the first, going left to right, you will come up, you will have your trauma, arcane, this is our noxious. I have a raid say dirge curing noxious here. I typed that in previously. And then for elemental and for curses. So that being already set up, let me see if I can find something that will give me some a little noxious. Would be a good example. Of course, I'll probably more likely just die while I'm trying to get this. There it is. I click on that, it cures, it puts the message in, and then I escape while I'm still alive. Okay, what I'm going to show is that what actually happened was it cast my Cure Noxious Remedy. Okay, I still have 3 detriments on me. If I click it again, you can see that it's not available for 10 seconds because it just used that. If I try to click it again, it'll say not ready yet, but the message will still be sent out. That's a common problem for dirges with resurrection spells because you try to cast your resurrection even though it's not ready yet, but it'll still be putting the message out in raid, so that's something to be cognizant of. So that is very briefly going over that, and you can set these to what you need to. The last thing I will cover is under settings. One thing that's pretty handy is health and power monitor. There is a section called refresh, and that's something that you want to set to fast. What that actually does is that it helps monitor, you can see the person's power, the character's power, the blue bar at the bottom, and the green bar is your health, correct? So that way you can set up little triggers which will kind of alert you as to when the person's health or power drop below that. However, if you have it on slow refresh, by the time it refreshes, that person may have already, well, died or flatlined on power, which is something we try not to do. Again, as I said, there is actually nothing under the other tab. So if you ever need to come back, you can go to these DarqUI settings this way. Thank you very much, and that's all I'm going to cover in this video.